Go ahead.
I hear you speaking out against the use of force and coercion, and I think that's a good thing. And I also heard you say that you don't think it is the right time, or that you're not ready to run for senator.
Right.
But I think I speak for all of us whenever I say that we're ready for you to run for senator. And is it all right if we can use any sort of coercion to get you to run for senator?
Run for governor in 2016.
I think we need a liberty candidate to run. There's no doubt. It's going to be a wide open field. Deborah Medina was great when she ran for governor. She got 21, 22.
I thought it was 19.
Somewhere in there. It was around 20% of the vote.
She would.
And she was basically not well known at all before any of this started, and did a great job with no money. I think that the advantage that I would have in running is that I could probably create some stir to get some money. But you'd have to get my wife on board with it. You'd have to get my kids on board with it. You'd have to get me on board with it. I don't even like Washington, D.C. I love going there and visiting and seeing all the sights and stuff like that, but I can't park anywhere, and there's traffic, and it's crazy. I'd probably have to live with my dad, because Rand's moving out, I think, next week. So he's moving out, so my dad would have a bedroom open again. So if I want, I could move. I'm just kidding.
And there's also vicious attacks that will come from the anti-liberty movement.
Yeah, and that would definitely happen. I mean, I just told you, I'm probably on YouTube here a little bit, that I'm very anti-war. You think anti-war is going to go over well in Texas? I don't know. But I don't think that I'm not patriotic. I think I'm the most patriotic guy. I think my dad is the biggest patriot in the country, because he stands up and says these things. He also, he may be the only one running for, if he does decide to run, which I'm leaning toward the fact that he may, but I don't know. If he does run, he may be the only one running that's actually ever served in the military. And they want to call him unpatriotic because he's not for all these wars. Well, I consider myself extremely patriotic, and Rand always says it, and I agree, that the number one thing that our country, our government should do is defend us. But that doesn't mean endless war. It doesn't mean throwing our money away to billions and billions of dollars to Pakistan and Egypt and all around the world, and we just can't do it anymore. My dad is right when he says the only way to save this country is to pull our empire back. Because if we decide to cut all entitlements and just cut them, I think there would be class warfare in the United States if we just cut all entitlements. But you could stop the money that goes overseas, and you could bring all that money back, and then over the next 60 years, you guys get educated and teach people how they need to not be in all these entitlements and slowly cut back the entitlements. We can balance the budget this year. And that's what we should do. We shouldn't wait 20 years to balance the budget. Like, I think Paul Ryan's plan is, it's not going to work. I hate to say I don't believe any of those guys, but I tend to not believe any of those guys up there. Because in 20 years, they're going to be out of office, and they're not going to care, and it's not going to be balanced, and they're going to be still spending money. Because as in 1971, Nixon said we're all Keynesians now when he ended the gold standard. So again, back to history, August 1971, he ended the gold standard. So we've got to work. We've got a lot of work to do. Oh, to see you. I'm sorry. Somebody has their hand up. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you if you could compare today's economy and also the anti-war movement of the 60s and 70s.
Well, I was only born in the 60s, so I don't know if I can compare it or not, but I think it died. What happened to the anti-war movement when Obama when he won? You know, just because most anti-war people are Democrats, it's okay to have wars when you're a Democrat? Apparently so, I agree. You know, I think we in the Liberty Movement have the greatest thing in the world to start talking about is talking about these endless wars and the money that because it is fiscally responsible to not have endless wars. So we're in the perfect position. You know, now all the Republicans are coming around and they're saying, oh yeah, we need to stop these wars. You know, they're Obama's wars. But back when Bush was doing them, they were happy about it. I didn't say this much in my speech. I am a Republican. I'm a little libertarian, but I am a Republican. But I'm not a vote for Republican no matter what. But I think we should change the Republican Party. So if you want to talk about party issues, that's where I believe. I've never considered myself a libertarian. I've always considered myself a Republican. I just don't, the rules are so hard for a libertarian to win, and a third party to win, that I think we have to work within the Republican Party. And I don't think that's wrong. Barry Goldwater was in the Republican Party. You know, if you listen to Ronald Reagan's speeches, they were really good. His deficits were bad, but Ronald Reagan's speeches were good. And his cutting taxes was great. But I think we can change the Republican Party, and I think that's where we should work. I'm not against the Libertarian Party, but I just think we should work within the Republican Party. So I meant to tell you all that in my speech, but you know, that's something that everybody has to decide on what you want to do as far as how to work within a party. But I'm more, you know, leaning toward the only way to actually do some good in this country and get people elected is to change the Republican Party and not worry about any third party or running as a third party candidate or something like that. So the Republican Party is where I'm going to spend all my time, and I'll go to as many Republican Party people and talk to them as much as they want to about any of these issues. Go ahead.
So you say we need to not give so much foreign aid because we have billions of dollars to foreign aid.
Right.
But do you realistically see a way that the U.S. could pull back foreign aid without repercussions from some of the more hostile countries that we give money to?
I think we're the strongest military nation in the world. I'm not worried about anybody's hostilities. We're still one of the richest nations in the world. They want to trade with us. I don't see how they would have all the oil and not want to get rid of it. So they've got to trade it with somebody. So I still think they're going to sell us the oil no matter what. So I don't want to give anybody foreign aid. That's across the board. I'd cut it all off. I don't think it does us any good. It's kind of like the bully thing and buying off a bully when you're getting bullied. It's just silly to pay people to be nice to us. I want to be nice to them so they'll be nice to me. But I don't want to pay them to be nice to me. It just, for some reason, that just rubs me the wrong way. And besides that, I don't think we can afford it. So there's two reasons. I probably wouldn't do it even if we could afford it. But we can't afford it, which makes my argument a lot easier, is because we need the money here. I don't want to build bridges in Afghanistan. I want to build bridges in the United States. So it just boggles my mind to try to think that we're doing that. I don't want to rebuild Pakistan. I don't want to rebuild Iraq. I don't want to rebuild Libya, which we were giving Libya. We were giving Libya money just recently. I mean, they're always getting foreign aid from us, but now we're bombing. Why rebuild our bombs? It's just crazy. We got to stop that. Got to stop being stupid. I think it's just stupid. So I think you have to stop it. So, all right.
Rochelle,
Yes, sir. Back.
I was going to ask, in your own words, what is liberty mean to you?
Oh gosh, have you read my dad's new book? It's called Liberty Defined. I thought about using that as an intro into my talk, and I couldn't really come up with a great answer. Freedom means that nobody tells me how I have to live my life. It lets me work. It lets me practice my religion. It lets me take care of my family. And that's what I think of when I think of liberty and freedom, is that I have the ability to do all those things without somebody telling me what to do. Now, what's happening is somebody would say, oh, well, we've got that in the United States. You can do that. Yeah, but I'm limited on what I can do because I'm paying a lot of money in taxes. And they're taking my money and doing things with my money that I don't want them to do. I want my money back so I have more freedoms, so I can spend more money, so I can do more things that I like to do in my church and things like this. But I'm limited on that so they're limiting my freedom by taking my money from me. And I do agree with the bumper sticker on my dad's desk that, taking my money and giving it to somebody else is stealing. The government's the only one that can legally steal. So don't steal. It says, I think the bumper sticker says, don't steal. The government doesn't like the competition. So they are stealing my freedoms and my liberties. And I don't know if I answered it as good as I maybe could have, but that's what it means to me. It lets me do what I want to do with my time, and I don't have to do it for somebody else. So, yes, sir.
What are your thoughts on running for a seat in the House if you're not going to run for Senate?
I've always, the Fort Worth Telegram called and asked, and I said, do you think about running? Yeah, I think about it all the time. That doesn't mean I have plans to do it, but I definitely think about it. Again, back to what my dad teaches us. We have to, and I'm in a position that most people aren't, because I have the last name that helps me get people to listen. I'm never going to say no. I don't really want to go to Washington. As my kids get a little older, and there might be a chance. It's such a great opening with the Senate race because it's an open seat. It's hard to beat incumbents. But that shouldn't stop us. Meaning, oh, it's an incumbent, we can't win that race. We've got to make sure that we try to get that out of our heads too, and try to go after some of these incumbent Republicans that are not doing the right things and voted for the TARP bailout and things like this. We have, I think, Republican senators that might have voted for that bailout. I'm not real sure on that, but I think we might have. So we need to go after them as far as I'm concerned. They say they're sorry. They say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I'm really a conservative. I'm really a fiscally conservative. I was confused on that bailout bill. I don't think they were confused. We need to organize. We need to keep getting people elected. We need to keep getting people interested in running. We got to get people who are fired up. I do have that. I may get more fired up than my brother and my dad do, but they just have so much more knowledge in their brains than I do as far as the answers. Like, the banking question. I don't think I can, answer those type of questions very well, but maybe I can learn and be better at answering those type of questions. But as far as running for Congress or running for Senate, I will keep that in my mind. I will always think about that. We've got the right guy up there in Rand. He's great. He's been great as long as I can remember. He's so knowledgeable, and he can do it off the top of his head. It's just amazing. Yes, ma'am.
I want to be a doctor as well, and
Cool.
I actually have type 1 diabetes as well, so I have a lot invested in the healthcare stuff. Because if we get socialized medicine, I'm going to go back to insulin shots, and it's going to be out of control. So I'm really scared about these things, and I'm wondering, what have you had to change, or how have you been affected by the things that have already happened?
Yeah,
so
that's
I know
one
what to
thing
expect.
I really pride myself on is never changing. And that's why if there was a washout period like we were talking about earlier where we're rolling over into Obamacare, I think we'd really get some good medicine for a while, because I'm not willing to change how I treat people. Because I take care of people, I don't take care of insurances, I don't take care of the government, I take care of people. So for a little while you're going to have a lot of doctors that have that integrity, but I think you will lose that integrity eventually.
But they're from businesses, like businesses that make insulin pumps. Like, I mean,
Well,
they're
I
not
think
going to
it was-
get any business because the government healthcare isn't going to pay for it.
I was watching a speech on YouTube, and I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was one of Obama's advisors, and he was saying that we should stop all R&D for 5 years because it's too expensive. I mean, how ludicrous. I mean, and they also said in the same speech I was watching that we should treat the society and not treat the individual. But when I went to medical school, we were taught to treat the individual and not society, meaning people should be allowed to just, it's too expensive to treat them, maybe we shouldn't treat them. You're type 1 diabetic, you're way too expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so are those
Yeah.
smokers, Mr. Obama, and how much is he going to cost the healthcare system for the rest of his life as we take care of him? So, it's just, and that was not very nice. We probably, and I would never, obviously, do something like that, because I take care of people, even if they do smoke. My grandmother and grandfather smoked for 60 years, and you just take care of people, which is the best thing. That's the other reason why I have a hard time ever leaving my job, because I love what I do. But I don't like them telling us how we're going to treat people and how we're going to take care of people, so that's why I got a little angry there. But I don't like them telling me that. I'm going to take care of people as long as I can and not listen to any government that tells me how I have to do it. Right now, I still don't have electronic medical records in my office because I just think it's too easy for the government to follow everything by electronic medical records. Electronic medical records, I think, would help the patient. It's going to help us keep track of surgeries and MRIs, and the data goes quickly. Right now, none of the EMRs communicate, so it's totally worthless. So you go to one EMR, you go to a different ER, you can't communicate. So it's absolutely stupid. But the only reason we have the EMR, in my opinion, is to track the money. The government wants to track who's getting money, who's getting paid, who's doing what for this amount of money. It's to follow the money. It's not to help the patient. So in my office, we still have paper charts. I'm a dinosaur. So I'll keep them in paper as long as I can.
There does seem to be a bit of a difference, like policy-wise, between your brother and your dad.